Hello everyone and welcome along to the latest episode of the TurfCast Podcast pre-game show. Of course with me, Joe Redmond, the TurfCast Podcast host. And this week joining me we've got two lads from the MK1 Podcast, which is of course an MK Dons podcast, and that's a team that we are playing at the weekend in the FA Cup third round. We'll start with you, Liam, at the top. How you doing, mate? You alright?
Yeah, not too bad. How are you?
Yeah, good, mate. Thank you. And we've got Ross down at the bottom as well. Ross, how are you, mate? You alright?
Yeah, well, in this current climate, as well as I can be, I guess.
Yeah, it is what it is, isn't it? At this stage, me and Simon were discussing it on our latest podcast. If you haven't already, please go and check it out. Third lockdown, innit? It's one of them, innit? You just got to try and crack on with it as best you can. But thankfully, this time football continues, which is a bit of a saving grace, I guess. And of course, this week, as mentioned, we have Milton Keynes Dons coming up in the FA Cup third round. Burnley's recent record, every claret watching this will be more than aware, in the FA Cup isn't the best. We've lost to plenty of lower league teams, Accrington Stanley, Port Vale, Lincoln City, which is obviously probably the worst one for me, Burton Albion, and you know, the list goes on. So Liam, I'll start with you. Before we get predictions and look into this weekend, tell me more about MK Dons then. Tell me more about your style and what sort of play we can expect from you this weekend.
Yes, so I'm League One on 25 points. Since Russell Martin's come in, he's been very much a base manager. You're crowned positions in England and Europe, all the matches. And the ball, I like to keep on quite attacking football. Typically, the systems is a 3-5-2, more 3-5-1. And yeah, the ball like dominate possession. And at times that's hampered our mistakes. Punish us for that. The past 2 weeks we've been not doing that, quite frankly, we deserve.
So what are your, Ross, I'll come to you, what are your ambitions for this season then as an MK Dons fan? Do you think you can sneak into the playoffs? Is it all about consolidation and mid-table in League One, or is it just about survival? What is it this season for MK Dons?
Well, in previous years, we've really struggled to actually have that stability. And I just feel like this season's all about progression. And we survived last season by points per game. And I just feel like this season, as you say, is about consolidating our League One status and building on top of that. But going forward, I feel like we just have to progress each year and see where we get.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's got to be every club's ambition, hasn't it? Just progression each year. I think anything less than that for me is not acceptable. Even as a Burnley fan, some people sit there and go, "Oh, as long as we stay Premier League, I'm not bothered." But we finished 7th a few years ago for me, so I want to try and do that again, or maybe even win a trophy, something like that. But that's a different debate. We're not here to talk about Burnley. So Liam, I'll come back to you, mate. Then obviously. I know MK Dons have had a bit of a recent record of a cup upsets, giant killings, whatever you want to call it. So talk to me about that. Talk to me about some of the teams that you've beaten in recent years and things like that, and what it means to an MK Dons fan to be able to knock out a Premier League side or a Championship side.
Yeah, I mean, I believe the most famous one is when we beat Man United 4-0 in the now Carabao Cup. That was a team we had like Will Brigg, Dele Alli, MK1 people like that, who have all of course moved on now. Beat QPR quite a few times as well, both on the road. The most recent one was a couple of seasons ago with Overachievers scoring an incredible goal, quite frankly, with 1-0. And it's like for any lower league side, knocking out a Prem team like yourselves in Burnley, it's a nice scalp. It's the cup set as they call it. And of course, for clubs like us, it's the money aspect as well, the financial aspect, especially in the times we're in now. It can go a long way in terms of the prize money you win for getting through, and it can go to the transfer window, which we've brought a player in today, and Ethan Laird, who expected to take part tomorrow. And if we win, that could potentially bring a player in. So it's a lot more than just a game for us. It's a lot of other things riding on it.
Yeah, you know what? That's interesting. I hadn't even thought of that. You mentioned then the prize money aspect. Obviously, a big thing of the prize money aspect would be playing a team like, for example, Manchester United away from home, 75,000 on, and I think you get 50% of the gate receipts if you're an away team in the FA Cup. Ross, I'll come to you. Do you know anything different this season? Like, obviously, there won't be any fans on any FA Cup games, it seems, between now and the end of the season, at any point this season. So is there anything different then in terms of that? Are you going to get any subsidised money, for example, or anything like that? Do you know of anything?
I don't know of anything, but I know how crucial it is to our club, and I just feel like, especially a day at Burnley, it gets more fans in through the gate, and it can actually help us on the pitch also. But I feel like as Milton Keynes fans, I just feel like the FA Cup's a break from the league, and as you say, it's a golden ticket for likes of playing Man U, your Man Cities. I just feel like it's a free hit, and if you do win them, you'll remember for many years to come.
Yeah, is it a shame that you're going to be, either you can answer this, is it a shame that you won't be able to come up to Burnley, or if you get through, of course, obviously, I know Burnley isn't going to be like the most glamorous attire to any fan, but even if you get through, obviously, you play Man City, you play Man United, you play Liverpool, obviously, you can't go on, so obviously, as a Burnley fan, I've been to all these grounds, we play them every year, the novelty's worn off a little bit, but surely for an MK Dons fan, it must be a little bit, like, not heartbreaking, but it must be a little bit sad that you won't be able to get to any of these games.
Yeah, well, it's a shame because we had two non-league teams in the first two rounds in Eastleigh and Barnet, which, of course, you know, for a team like us who goes to like these big grounds, going to like a non-league ground is actually quite nice. It's a whole different environment to it. But yeah, with this time, plenty of away trips. You know, Sunderland, for example, was one we look forward to, and Burnley would have been another. But that's just 2020 and now 2021, isn't it? Missing out on a lot of things just because of the pandemic.
Yeah, as Ross said earlier on, and I'll agree, it is a bit of a shitter to be fair, but we're at this stage now where it is what it is. Let's talk more about MK Dons then. You've mentioned sort of like the style of player and how you play, Liam. Ross, I'll come to you now. What sort of players, as a Burnley fan and any Burnley managerial men that might be listening or scouts, who should we be watching out for when we play MK Dons at the weekend? Who's most likely to hurt Burnley?
Well, we call him the wizard at MK Dons, but Scott Fraser. He sits as like a number 10, but in the formation we play, he's not classed as a number 10. But he's the most advanced in the in the midfield. And there's just stats after stats which are just labelling him as one of the best in the league currently. And I feel like with obviously Burnley having a few COVID cases, they might obviously resort to the under-23s, etc. We don't know. But I just feel like Scotty Fraser could really hurt this Burnley side.
It's one of them wheels. I think even without the COVID cases, we'd have probably put a few under-23s in there. Whether we, as fans, wanted them to or not, that's another matter. But that just seems to be the way forward in the FA Cup these days for any Premier League side, even when you don't have any depth. Like Burnley don't. I want to go back to something you said earlier, Liam. You mentioned you had players like like Dele Alli and things like that, and I want to pinpoint Dele Alli as well. What was he like then at Milton Keynes then? Because I know a lot. Obviously, I was aware he was on loan at MK Dons. There's a few pictures of him playing at the MK Stadium and things like that. And what was he like there? Because obviously he wouldn't have been a finished article and stuff when he was there. He'd have probably been a bit of a rough diamond and stuff. So, what memories do you have of him?
Well, I mean, we mentioned it earlier a little bit. The 4-0 against Man United, he was, of course, one of the key players in that victory, alongside the likes of Will Grigg and things like that. But he actually came through the FA Cup himself. His first game was against Cambridge City, and he scored like a 40-yard screamer or something into the top corner. So our first memory of Dele was that goal, and he only went from strength to strength. And ultimately, selling him for £5 million was a bit of a steal for Tottenham. Of course, now he's, the rumours about him potentially leaving and things like that. And of course, we have a sell-on fee for him, so it's of course intriguing to us. But yeah, I'd say memory to Dele. He was a relentless player who played with no fear. He enjoyed the game, and we saw that as fans, and it was just really enjoyable to watch. And we've been quite fortunate that our academy's brought through other players who've gone on to like George Baldock, for example, and we're hoping a few current players in our ranks right now are going to make that step up as well, like Dele and George did.
Yeah, fair enough. Ross, I'll come to you then. And Liam, I will ask you this question as well, because I do like to get a gauge of opinion on this. But what are your thoughts on Burnley then? Because it's always interesting to hear our opposition fans think of your club and stuff. So what are your opinions on Burnley? Not just how they play, not just the club that they are, but as a whole.
But I always thought Burnley were a bit of a stalemate in the Prem as such. But I'm a big fan of Sean Dyche. He was actually raised in Kettering, where I actually live now, so it's actually quite an eye-opener as such. But for the budget and everything which has been given to Sean Dyche, I feel like he's overachieving at Burnley. Yeah. And I'm hoping with this takeover he can actually get some funds and propel Burnley, as you say, into that top 7 if he gets the right players in the search. But overall, I've never seen Burnley as a Championship side. I've always seen them as a Prem side. But I remember going to watch them against Milton Keynes in the Championship when we were back in the Championship, and it was a Premier League club stadium. So overall, I do see him as a Premier League side.
Yeah, happy days. And just going back to what you mentioned about Sean Dyche with the funds and stuff, he sounded a bit like every single Burnley fan then, sort of like saying we're hoping that he gets the funds and stuff, because obviously he hasn't had any. And you're spot on when you say he's overachieved. When you look at what we've done for the last 3 seasons, we've finished 10th last season. The season before we had a bit of a poor season because we were in the Europa League at the start, and obviously the season before that we finished 7th. A lot of people do forget about that. You see a lot of stuff on Twitter, and I think I said it to you, Liam, on the MK podcast when I was on it this week. Twitter isn't the best place to gauge opinion because it tends to be a lot full of kids, hiding behind profile pictures of footballers and things like that. And you just tend to see a lot of negative stuff, and people always tend to forget how well Burnley have actually done in the last 3-4 seasons. But Liam, I'll come to you as well. I'll ask you the exact same question. So what's your sort of like thoughts and opinions on Burnley Football Club as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, I focus on all the footballing side of things, but yeah, like 4-4-2 side, very resilient, clinical. Don't really score a lot, but when they do, they get the chances. It tends to be the one goal that wins them games. And as Ross kind of said, they've done enough to stay in the Premier League so far, and of course had the season that when they finished 7th, like you mentioned, Joe. But hopefully, this takeover, can attract some more players to Burnley and try and sustain that top half finish in the Prem, and if not more. Of course, you got some building blocks there already in players like Neil and things like that, and Nick Pope, for example. But yeah, I say it's very promising times for Burnley, and hopefully we can put damp on the good news so far of a win on the weekend.
Yeah, well, fingers. I'm going to say fingers crossed. Fingers not crossed, obviously. But yeah, let's look ahead to the weekend then. Sort of like. Before we look ahead to the weekend, actually, what were your thoughts on the draw then? Like when you actually got that, I'll be honest, when you're a club and you've been in the Premier League for as long as Burnley have, and you have the record that you have in the FA Cup, Ross, I'll come to you with this one. I don't even watch the third round FA Cup draw. I'll check it on my phone. I'm like, oh, we've got MK Dons then, fair enough. And I'll tweet it out saying we have MK Dons on the TurfCast Twitter and stuff. But it's not exactly like a big deal. No matter who we got, we could have got Man United. In fact, I'd have rather got MK Dons than Man United. Put it this way, I'm sick of playing the Manchester clubs. It's a bit of a running joke in Burnley. You tend to, if you look at our last 4 or 5 seasons in the Cup, we play Man City pretty much every single season, and obviously Man City just destroy us every single season. So it's good to play someone different. We haven't played MK Dons for a long time. I think the last time I remember playing you was in the Championship season when we ran away with it. I seem to remember beating you quite comfortably at the at Stadium MK, and I can't remember what the result was at the Turf, but it's been a while since we played. Yeah, I didn't want to say that. I knew it was 5-0. I didn't want to say it. But yeah, even Matty Loughton scored, boy. So come on, you must have been Paul back then. Can't remember my question now. Yeah, Ross, what did you think when you actually got the draw? Because I can't imagine what it's like for a League One side and you're thinking, we could get Man City, Man United, Liverpool, and then you get Burnley, and then there must be a little slight underwhelming emotion at first, but then you think, well, it's a Premier League team. We could beat them if you look at the record. Obviously, fingers crossed you don't. But what were your thoughts when you saw that you were playing Burnley?
Yeah, it was the thing with obviously. I said this at the start of the recording. I feel like in the current climate, you can't really take the FA Cup serious as such because of obviously there's no fans, and that's in my eyes what brings the magic of the FA Cup.
Yeah.
So yeah, Burnley, it was a strange one, and I'm going to be underwhelmed by it because obviously we haven't drawn the top teams. But as I said earlier, it's a free hit, and we can more than win this tie and move on. But I've always seen this FA Cup and the Papa John's Trophy, the League Cup, as a chance to progress and try and get a bit of money in the transfer window. So I wouldn't have minded a lower league team, but also I wouldn't mind a Prem club.
Yeah, fair enough. Liam, what were your thoughts then when you saw that you got Burnley in the draw?
I think I was just gutted that we couldn't go to it, to be completely honest. I quite enjoy the away, especially in the cup. Literally, it's the unknown of not knowing who you're going to play, and then if it's an away trip, me and Rob typically go because that's just how we are. But yeah, I mean, it's a Prem team. You can't really complain with playing a Prem team. And in some people's eyes, it's a potentially beatable Prem team as well. So I think you've got to be happy with the draw and hope that we can, as Ross said, win the free hit and advance to the next round, and then potentially play another Prem team and keep going from there.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It is a bit of a shitter when you can't go to a game, isn't it? An away game, because excuse me, if we'd have got MK Dons at MK Dons and we weren't in the current climate, I would have 100% have gone to that game because I've never been to that stadium, so it is a bit of a shame. And I know Burnley as a town as well gets a lot of stick, but as an away day, you won't get many more accommodating places than Burnley. There's a cricket club just behind the turf, so you could have sunk a lot of beers in there before you got on the ground. There's all the pubs are more than welcoming to you. So yeah, it is a bit of a shame. But anyway, let's focus on this weekend then. Ross, I'll come to you. What sort of lineup and team and sort of shape can we expect this weekend? I know, Liam, you mentioned sort of like how Neil said West Brom then, how MK Dons usually play, but can we expect anything different this weekend, Ross?
I think this season has always been about our identity, but going into this game, I'm more than confident, and it's surprising because obviously it's a Prem side, but I feel like if we stick to our own ways and we control the game like we normally do, against this Burnley side who will sit back, we will have chances to take this game. But it all depends on what formation we go with, because we have been playing two formations this season, and what our favoured formation this season has been the 3-5-2. But recently we've had some success in the league with due to injuries, especially. We've gone with a formation of a 3-5-1-1. So it just depends which formation we go for and how much we want to attack this game. But at the end of the day, we've got nothing to lose. So I'd rather see us lose 5-1 than us lose 1-0 and play defensive football.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, it comes to predictions then. I know, Liam, I've already got your opinion when I came on the MK1 podcast, but I'll get you again for TurfCast viewers and that. And boys, if you are watching this and you do want to see me on the MK1 podcast, or you want to check out more of the MK1 podcast, I'll give the lads to sort of like give their socials out before we wrap up. But Liam, what's your predictions coming into this weekend then?
Yes, so I know Burnley have never lost MK Dons, but I feel it's a different Milton Dons team than you've played before. And Burnley, well, I'm sure you know, Joe, Burnley don't score many goals in the game. It tends to be quite tight, and they don't concede many when we're on a defence in our day. So I went with a 1-1 draw full time, and then I'll be 1-1 after extra time, and I think MK Dons will win on penalties.
Ross, your predictions?
Oh, I've gone for the exact same, funny enough. I actually haven't heard Liam's predictions this weekend. But as I say, it's just going to be such a close game because of I feel like we'll dictate the tempo. But if we do have them mistakes, it'll be whether you guys punish us for them.
Yeah, I think for me it all depends on which Burnley side is put out. If we put out the under-23s, then yeah, it could be another team to add to the list of lower league sides that's beaten Burnley. But if we play our starting 11, and I'd say this against majority of Premier League sides apart from the top 6, I've got to be confident, especially at Turf Moor. And again, it depends what type of game you turn into. I know you've both said that you try and play nice football and stuff, so if that's the case, then that'll be a different sort of game to what we want it to be. But if you try and turn it into a slog, then that'll work in our favour. Then we'll try and work for set pieces and probably punish you there. Fingers crossed Sean Dyche goes with a strong starting 11, because if he does, I think we will progress. But then we've got Manchester United on Tuesday, and if you could say to me now, you could get beat by MK Dons 5-0 and then beat United 1-0, I'd take that every single day of the week. So it is what it is. I'm gonna go a 1-0 Burnley win.
I know we would take it as well.
Yeah, I bet you will. I'm gonna go for a 1-0 Burnley win, and but it's gonna be. I think we'll make it hard. I think it'll be similar to the Barnsley game last season. Burnley fans, you'll obviously remember that one where we played them at the Turf. It was a horrendous game of football. As it can be with Burnley, and we managed to sneak a 1-0 thanks to a late penalty. I think if you, like you two have said, if it does finish 1-1 and then it goes to penalties, I think if it goes to penalties against you, I will be quietly confident. But I think if you're going to win this game, I think you've got to win it in the 90 minutes or in the extra time. I think with Nick Pope in the net, I think he's one of the best keepers. For me, he's the best English goalkeeper, and his save ratios the best in Europe at the minute, and it's just ridiculous. So I would be confident with Nick Pope in the net, but then would I be confident in Kevin Long or Jimmy Dunn stepping up to take a penalty? I'm not so sure on that one, but you've got to back Pope. But anyway, that's it from this week's TurfCast podcast pre-game show. In fact, before I do go, Liam, I'll come to you. Can you let everyone know where they can find the MK1 podcast and how they can listen and subscribe and that sort of stuff?
So the Twitter for the podcast is at MK1 Podcast. My Ross and Joe's Twitter is in the bio as well. Also, you want to follow us there, you can do. And yeah, we're on all major listening platforms like Spotify, iTunes, etc. So if you want to fancy listening to that and listening to our preview with Joe, then feel free.
Yeah, please check it out. And if you don't want to check out their podcast, then that's harsh, but you can always check out me on there as well. But yeah, please give them a subscribe, give them a like, and just show the love and show the support. You know how it is. But yeah, thanks Liam for coming on. Thanks Ross for coming on. I really appreciate you both coming on. Good luck for the rest of the season, except on Saturday. But I'm sure, as Ross said, I'm sure you can get your goals this season of consolidation in League One. I'm sure you can progress on there. But thank you for coming on the podcast. And we will see you next week on Thursday for the next TurfCast podcast. Will be released on Thursday as usual. Thanks.